Just getting on with it. On the first day of college, we all had to go and see this woman, Mrs. Cuthbert, a deputy principal. A bit like a head of year at high school, I think. "Well, Josh," she said, "we're accepting you onto the vehicle maintenance course, but you will have to resit maths and English GCSEs at the same time, of course." She studied the papers on her desk. "I really can't see why you only managed E's. You should be capable of A's and B's. You were getting such good marks when you were first at high school." I shrugged. Things were easier then. Well, of course the work was easier in year 7 than year 11. That wasn't what I meant, but I didn't point it out. I don't like to talk about my problems. I just get on with them. I sat in silence and let her waffle on about how I was going to have to work harder now I was at college. Back in the entrance hall, I found my mate, Matt, already struggling. And he'd only got as far as the notice board. "Here," he said, "I can't make head nor tail of this timetable. What do all these numbers and letters mean?" Matt's dyslexic. He wouldn't have to resit anything if he could only remember how to spell words the same way everyone else spells them. He was very excited about college because they were going to let him use some cutting-edge software that would do his spelling for him. But first, he needed to know where his classes were. "The letters are for different blocks," I explained. I'd had plenty of practice finding my way around complicated, rambling buildings. "And the numbers are for rooms in each block. There's a map of the campus in your welcome pack." "Oh, I wish I was like you, Josh. You're always so organised." "I've needed to be," I said with a shrug. Matt doesn't really want to be like me. His mum and mine are best friends, so he knows my life hasn't been great this past 6 years. He just wants to live in a world where no one cares if you're dyslexic. I backed away from the notice board to let someone else in and bumped into a girl who was passing. "Look out, my coffee!" "Oh, sorry." I span around to help, but her friend was already pulling out a tissue to mop her up. Trust me to be so clumsy. "Sorry," I said again. "Can I get you another coffee?" And she looked at me then, and her face broke into an unexpected smile. "Oh, hello," she said. "Maybe another time, okay." "Who was that?" said Matt, as we both watched her shiny, swinging hair disappear down the corridor. "I've absolutely no idea. But she acted like she knew you." I shrugged. Must have mistaken me for someone else. One of the things that makes college better than school is that you don't have to be there if you haven't got a class. Some of the lads go into town and hang out when they've got a free period, but I usually go to the library and just get on with all the catching up I've got to do. Fridays are different though. No classes, but no hanging out or catching up either. Friday is work placement day, when we get sent out to do real work with real mechanics in real garages all over town. I already helped out a real mechanic at weekends, my grandad. And I'd managed to persuade college that a placement with him would be just as good as anything in town, even though he doesn't actually have a real garage. What he does have is farm buildings. Most of them are stables that he lets out to people who need somewhere to keep their horses. But one of them is a huge implement shed where he repairs and services agricultural machinery. So while the others are working on Fiestas and Golfs and Qashqais, I'll be working on anything from a quad bike to a combine harvester. Grandad isn't as fit as he used to be, so he's glad I'm going to be spending more time helping him. When I cycled out to his place bright and early on the first Friday of term, I found he'd got a really choice job for me. "Just take a look at this muck spreader, will you, Josh?" I took a look from a safe distance. "Grandad, you're supposed to be teaching me about engines and gearboxes and suspension and stuff. I don't think an implement that just gets towed behind a tractor is the sort of thing that counts towards my training." "It's the sort of thing you'll need to know if you're going to take over my business one day." Wow. Was I going to take over his business one day? I'd never really thought that far ahead. Until recently, I hadn't dared think as far as next week. But now my head was suddenly filled with possibilities. I could do this. I just had to get on with it. "Shouldn't we move it into the implement shed?" I asked. The muck spreader was standing in the middle of the stable yard. "No room at the moment. Should be easy enough to fix it here." "So what's wrong with it?" "It's not spreading muck. That's what's wrong with it. Clogged up inside, I reckon. Get stuck in, lad. See if you can fix it." Grandad didn't even stay to supervise. He went off into his implement shed, whistling happily. I got stuck in. I poked and prodded and peered at every bit of the mechanism till I was covered in muck myself, but nothing seemed to be blocked. Then I noticed a frayed wire hanging loose. I crawled out from underneath, stood up, and came face to face with a girl who was just leading her pony back to its stable. Shiny chestnut hair. The girl, that is. The pony was piebald. "Hello again," she said, and this time I recognized the smile. "I thought perhaps you wouldn't be working here anymore now you've started college." So, she hadn't mistaken me for someone else. That spilt coffee smile had really been for me. Lots of girls come and go with their ponies when I'm here at weekends, but I've never really looked at them properly, which is odd, given that girls are all most 17-year-old lads think about. I've just had too much else on my mind, I suppose. "Hello," I said, hoping the muck that was all over my overalls was also covering enough of my face to hide my blushes. "I'm really sorry about the smell," she laughed. "Don't worry, I'm used to it. I muck out stables, remember?" I laughed too, awkwardly. "No, actually, I meant the coffee the other day." She laughed again. "Now is your chance to get me another one," she said, nodding to the office in the corner of the yard where there was a drinks dispenser. "Oh, sure, yes. Actually, I can pop into the house and make you a nicer one." I ran into the kitchen, peeled off my smelly overalls and washed my face and hands. Then I made 2 mugs of coffee and carried them outside. "You must have been here very early," I said. She stopped rubbing down her pony and came and sat beside me on a bale of straw. "I'm always here early. I like to get a ride in before school." Well, it used to be school. College now, of course. "Will you be in later, or have you got a free day?" No. Yes. No. I'm so rubbish at talking to girls. I'm not very good at talking to anyone, actually. She raised an eyebrow. I tried again. I'm not at college on a Friday, but it's not free. It's work placement day." "Oh, so you're on a vocational course." "I saw you looking at the GCSE resit timetable, so I thought—" I could have said, "Oh no, I was just helping my friend. It's Matt who's doing resits." But she could easily find out I was doing resits too, and realize I'd lied. And then she wouldn't smile at me anymore, let alone have coffee with me. "Mostly, I'm doing motor vehicle maintenance," I said, "but I'm doing a couple of resits as well." "Really?" She looked at me with her head on one side, as if she was trying to sum me up. I wondered if she'd noticed the long scar down the right side of my face from when I fell off a tractor aged 4. "Jump," Uncle Billy had said. "I'll catch you." He didn't. "Yeah, well, I missed quite a lot of school, and even when I was there, I never had time to do my homework." She didn't ask why, which was a big relief. It's the risk of people asking questions that stops me talking to them in the first place. She just said, "So are you going to be able to cope with college all right?" "Oh, yes," I said. "Things have got better recently." And then, suddenly, I found myself telling her the stuff I never tell anybody. All about Mum's long illness, about being afraid she was going to die before she could get a transplant, and then her taking a long time to get better after she'd had the operation. I'd had some time out at the Young Carers group, but as I talked, I realized it had been pretty tough. "She's a bit better now, though," I added, "and my uncle's just got a job nearer home and isn't away all week, so I'm not the only one who can look after her now. So yes, I can cope with college fine. I just need to get on with it." "Josh," Grandad came out of the implement shed. "I don't pay you to sit around chatting up Megan Patterson." "Oh, thanks, Grandad. I'd been wondering how to ask her name." "I'm entitled to a coffee break," I pointed out. I wouldn't have dared say that to a new boss if he hadn't also been my grandfather. "Not until you've found out what's wrong with this blooming muck spreader." "I have found out. There's just a bare cable end where the plug for the tractor power supply should be." Grandad went and had a look for himself. "Well, I'm blowed. I've never known that happen before. Can't have been fitted properly. OK, lad. 10 minutes coffee break then." "Actually, I must finish up here and get back." Megan got to her feet. "I've got biology at 11:30. A-level? Yeah, I'd like to be a vet." Oh, she was way out of my league. "Gosh," I said, "you must be really clever." She laughed. "No way near as clever as you. I could never fix a broken muck spreader. Thanks for the coffee, Josh. I'll see you at college." Megan went back to her pony, and I went back into the kitchen. As I pulled my overalls back on, I realized I felt lighter. A cloud had lifted. A cloud I hadn't even realized was there. I'd talked to someone about all the worries and all the work I'd had these past few years, and it had been okay. I hadn't choked up or burst into tears. I could talk about it again if I had to. I didn't have to pretend things had always been fine. Suddenly, the future seemed easier. For the first time, I actually dared to picture a future. And it was going to be good. All I had to do now was get on with it. And I was used to doing that.